a thing popping up on your screen soon. Zookeeper Jawnie, getting you connected. There she is.
Hey!
How are you? I'm doing very well. How about yourself?
I'm great, doing great. Just got home from work probably about an hour ago, and I've just been like pumped up for this.
All right, well, cool. I'm glad you're pumped up for it. It's nice to meet you in person. I've followed your account for a while now, and I've always enjoyed your stuff you're doing with all the animals there. But please tell everybody who's watching, because any of my followers are watching now or later, or maybe even some of yours, tell us exactly what you do, where you work, and all the stuff.
Yeah, so all the things. My name is Jawnie. I know that's one thing a lot of times people get really nervous before they say my name, especially like on something live. They're like, it's Jawnie, right? Because it's spelled differently, so people get nervous. And I'm a zookeeper, and currently I'm working at the Nashville Zoo, and I work with ambassador animals. So I am a part of the behavioral husbandry department, where we have all of our ambassador animals, and we're split up kind of into.
Uh-oh, you froze.
I am actually an outreach specialist keeper. So I specialize in taking the animals off grounds to schools and hospitals and all that fun stuff. Obviously not right now. So we're just kind of like chilling at the zoo. So we're doing like virtual outreaches. We've only done one so far and it went okay. And then we're doing virtual tours as well, which is a lot of fun. So like you had Jake on here last week. So we're all like separated into teams, and then so there are only 4 of us at our new building, so I'm so happy to be at our new building. But me and Jake are the team, so we're together every single day, so it's a lot of fun.
That's a pretty cool teammate to have. So you're good. You're good.
Yeah.
So how did you get into this line of work?
Yeah, so I feel like I'm like every other child who liked animals. Like, I want to be a vet, because I feel like that's the only really well-known one if you're not really exposed to any other animal fields. But I think when I was like 12, I realized what vets like really have to do, like when animals are injured. And I was like, I can't do that. No, thank you. Like when animals get old, and I was like, no, which obviously in any animal field, you have to deal with it. But like, I will never be the one making that decision being a zookeeper. So that kind of, I always liked animals, but when I was actually it was the summer between my junior and senior year of college, and I went to the Columbus Zoo. I'm from a suburb of Columbus, and I went to go see one of the animal shows, and I just like fell in love and was like, this is the most amazing thing. And I still didn't realize it was like a career. I was like, oh, this is like their summer job. So I went and talked to them about it, and they were saying like, go to school for some sort of like environmental thing, or like they said zoology, but they were I was at Ohio State, and they were like, don't do zoology there, because a few of them had done zoology, majored in that, and just didn't really like it there. So they were like, do something else. And I was like, okay. So I went to my counselor that summer before my senior year of college, and I changed my major. But again, still like it still wasn't clicking that it was like a legitimate career. And so that fall quarter, they had this brand new class, and they were like, we'd love for you to join it. And there were only maybe like 20 of us, and it was at the zoo, and it was on Saturdays, and it was like a 5-hour class, and it was zoo science and management. So every week, we basically got to learn what all goes into being a zoo. So like maybe you want to be a zookeeper, this is what you do. If you're into design, like you can still have a design job at a zoo. And that was when it clicked. I was like, wait, this is like a legit career. So that was when I decided, I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. So I was very fortunate to start at the Columbus Zoo. I was seasonal there for 5 years and had a lot of different jobs trying to work my way up, which is important. So someone told me like, just get your foot in the door. So my first year there, my first season was in the admissions department, and I just tried to get to know everybody. And then one of the classes that I took at Ohio State, the director of education at the zoo was one of the teachers for it. It was a CIG course, but through Ohio State. And she was like, oh, there's this brand new internship that's starting at the zoo. Do you want it? And I was like, okay. So I was like very, very fortunate. And it was through the government though too. So it was a paid position, and it was more than all the rest of the seasonals were making at the zoo. So that was very nice too. And then when that was done, they asked me to stay on. So I was in the education department for a few years, and I finally got to move to working with animals. And I was like, yes, for sure. Because I loved animals, and I loved, at one point in the education department, I got to work with them, but I didn't get to clean up after them. And I hate cleaning at home. And I just, like, I'm not a cleaner. So I was like, I honestly don't know if I'm going to like cleaning up after animals. Right. But surprise, I do. So it worked out.
You know, I think it's a little bit different cleaning up your home versus cleaning up after the animals. I haven't put my finger quite on what that difference is, because it's still cleaning. But I don't know, something about the servitude for the animal versus just cleaning up after yourself, I guess, is different.
But it's weird, though, too, because I have pets at home. I have 2 dogs and a cat, and I have one of my dogs, like, eats anything and everything. Like, he's been in the hospital for eating stuff he shouldn't.
Oh, no.
But sometimes, like, he'll get sick, and I, like, you know, the stuff that we have to deal with at work, like blood and guts and everything.
Right.
I will be sitting here gagging the entire time I clean up after Clifford. I don't know why. I can do anything at work, but I just am gagging the entire time. It's so weird.
Right? Yeah, it's something, I don't know, something different about being at work versus at home. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. So I got my start at Columbus, and then I knew that I wasn't going to be able to stay there if I wanted full-time experience, because nobody ever leaves that zoo. And I had known a couple seasonals that were seasonal there for 10 years. Wow. So I just started applying anywhere and everywhere. And I kind of like mapped out how far I would be able to move and be able to actually afford to get there. Yeah.
That's good. It's good. They got to strategize.
Yeah, because I was not like, I don't really have family that can support me enough to just like, yeah, you can move to California, because the California zoos aren't paying like all that great, and just the cost of getting there. So I ended up taking a job in Texas, and I was there for 3.5 years at the Fort Worth Zoo. But Texas is hot, and I hate summertime. So when I moved there, I was like, this is my full-time experience, but I know I'm not going to stay. And then eventually, almost 2 years ago, I ended up here in Nashville.
Yeah, I think I started following you when you were at Fort Worth.
Okay.
I remember thinking to myself, when you moved, I was wondering if you're going to work with Jake, because I already had connected with Jake prior to that.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, I think I started following you in Fort Worth. So
yeah,
well, that's
when
great.
I was posting all my penguin pictures,
I
miss them so much.
Aw, yeah. That's probably one of the more challenging parts of having to move zoos to get more experience and to get, to climb your way up is having to say goodbye to your kids at the other zoo you're working at.
Yeah, for sure. And definitely, like, I made definitely like a bigger connection with some of our parrots. So even to this day, some of the girls who still work there will send me pictures and videos of the macaws and the parrots that like I was obsessed with when I was there. So I miss them a lot.
Yeah, I'll bet. Yeah, that can be tough. I want to jump back just a little bit though. At the beginning, you had mentioned what you are doing now, and you normally do the outreach stuff, which that's my heart and soul. That's what I was doing for years before I jumped more into the spokesperson role of things. It's changed now though, and that's one of the things I like to ask people at the top of this talk is, how has this whole COVID thing impacted your normal work, and what's the adjustments you guys have made?
Yeah, so usually we don't really have like a downtime for outreach. Like summertime, I feel like is some zoos' norms to have like be a downtime for outreach. But it's our busy season. Like it's insane. We usually like are having 3 different outreaches in a day. So like our supervisors will have to go. We'll have to take smaller animals and take an intern with each of us, and like it is crazy. So it kind of stinks because we're not reaching all those people that we generally do, because we've canceled all of our outreaches, I think, through July. So even the month of July, we're not going to have any. And then I think they're still not sure what we're going to do in August. So during the busy season, the only thing that kind of stinks about that is that we don't get the time to train some of the animals or be around some of the animals, and we don't get to help clean sometimes. So sometimes it's like, we'll get in the morning and be like, sorry, bye. Like, we can't help you clean. Yeah.
Right.
So that like always kind of stunk. So being here, it stinks again because we can't reach all the people that we were reaching. But we're getting more time spending and bonding with the animals that now might be able to be outreach animals, because maybe necessarily we didn't have the best relationship with them.
Right.
Or we just didn't have the time to train with we have a lot of animals. And we got a brand new building that opened up, and got even more, and we're continuing to get more in the future. So it's a lot. So it's been nice to be able to bond with a lot of animals. Oliver the crow that I've been posting.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, so he had his primary trainer, which was another outreach specialist, but he had been working with him before I moved here. Okay. And now Oliver is in the new building, and it's just me and Jake. So I don't think I've been like designated his primary trainer, but I'm basically the only one that's like really, really trying to push him right now. And he's always liked me. Like crows are very intelligent. They can be like weird with people, but I am weird. Like I like yell. I don't like scream at them, but I like yell and like sing to all the animals. And I've always sung to Oliver, like just dumb little songs. And so I fortunately like have never had issues with him. And so now like we're legitimately like building a relationship, and I love it so much. Like he's been making cute little noises to me this last week. Where if this didn't happen, I don't think I would have made that relationship with Oliver if this didn't happen. But lots of changes. But we're doing the virtual outreaches, which has been nice, and they're only like $15, so it has like the potential to reach a lot of people because it's super cheap, but you're just like staring at your phone. But it's very interactive like this. You can ask questions and send your questions and things like that.
Yeah, and I, I think all zoos are kind of in the same boat where we've had to kind of adjust. There is no outreach. There's no programs on grounds. If you hold camps or classes on grounds. So all of us have kind of had to shift to that virtual tour or that virtual classroom and figuring out how to leverage all of that and how does that work? Because normally it's best in person when you can actually see and get up close with the animal, but this is the best we got, and it seems to be working for a lot of zoos. So I hope you guys have been having success with that.
Yeah, I think that was one thing we were really nervous about. Like, obviously people, especially kids, aren't going to be as engaged learning from us. Like, here's this animal that you can't like get very close to.
Right, two-dimensional.
And it's just like, it's a different effect when they're in person. It's way more tangible.
Oh, yeah.
But I think it's going pretty good.
Good.
Especially if people ask a lot of questions, like all of our tours are like scripted. And so sometimes I think people get nervous of asking questions. But I'm like that person where I don't care how large the thing is. Like if I see someone with their hand up, I'll just be like, oh, what's your question? Because I want to talk to them what they want to know. I want to teach them like something they're interested in. So our last Clouded Leopard tour, it was amazing. There were like 16 people, and it was just constantly questions. So rather than my script, I was able to just tell them what they wanted to know, but they asked everything that was on the script, and it was amazing. So hopefully like people that tune into that and really enjoy it, hopefully like tell other people. And that obviously helps us too, because that's incoming money to the zoo that we're not getting right now because we've been shut down for months.
Right. Is there any sign of you guys opening up in the near future, or? Yeah,
we're actually opening up to members on the 15th, and then to the rest of the public on the 18th. They're just doing timed tickets, like they're only going to let so many people in per half hour and things like that.
Yeah. Well, good. I'm glad you guys are moving forward with that. We just announced too that we're doing our members week, and then we're going to do our full opening, also limited though per how many people, but we'll open on the 20th. So it's exciting to hear that other zoos are getting the opportunity to reopen their doors and hopefully breathe a sigh of relief. So
and it's really interesting because now we're just like, how are we going to do animal encounters like without people getting too close to us, or even if we can distance ourselves, like what are all these people, are they going to all congregate together? And so that's like a whole nother thing.
Right. Yeah. A lot of logistics, but we could go on and on about our zoo work. I asked you to join me today because my favorite question I have found, and here's the background, anyone who's watching now who hasn't seen the other, however many I've done, the week of Endangered Species Day, which was a Friday in May, I kind of wanted to do something different. People like myself and Jawnie and others I've had on here have spiels or scripts, like you mentioned, of how we communicate facts about our animals, about the conservation side of it, if they're an endangered species and stuff like that. And we'll keep doing that because those are good and important. But I also recognize as humans, we like a good story. And so sometimes the best way to relate to someone in our field, working with animals all the time, is to hear a true, genuine story. And, yesterday, David Mizejewski, his story was about, catching his first frog as a kid and how that impacted him. Others, biology Imogen and the snow leopard bounding down this mountain towards them. I mean, a wide variety of stories, and I just love them all. So Jawnie, please share with us, what is your most memorable animal experience?
I was trying to think of one that I had when I was younger, but I honestly couldn't really think of one. But like my most like semi-recent one was like you love binturongs, but I'm sure like you worked with them.
I got a binturong shirt on.
Yes, I love red pandas, and I've never worked with a red panda, and I finally was able to meet one out of probably it was last year, I think. So like 8 years in a zoo, and I had never met a red panda.
Wow.
I know. So I met up with my friend Anderson in Cincinnati. And we went and met Paul, who was one of the red panda keepers at Cincinnati. And so that was the first time. I honestly thought I was going to cry, but I didn't. Like, I almost was disappointed that I didn't because I love them so much.
Right.
And we went into the exhibit and they just were surrounding us because it was a few adults and they had babies, which they were almost full grown, but they were smaller and like way more active. And they just were all around our feet and running up to us. And I was like, Paul, I'm going to die. And he was like, you're not going to die. And I was like, you don't know that. I could like keel over and die in the middle of the exhibit. It was amazing. Yeah, but it was the best experience because we got to feed them. They came up on this branch that like was maybe stomach height or abdomen height. And so they would climb up and we could feed them. And ever since I probably saw my first red panda at the Columbus Zoo, maybe when I was like 18, and I was like, what the heck is that thing? Is it a raccoon? And ever since then, I loved them. And so I've always said, like, if I have the chance to meet one, like, I don't care if I get slashed across the face. Like, obviously I don't want that to happen, but I just want to meet one. But they were so, like, handsy and so into the food that they just would reach out their claws and, like, stick their claws in your hand and pull you in. And so after every time, I always have like these little tiny scratches on my hand. I'm like, look, it's from a red panda. But after we were done feeding them, Paul sat down on a rock and he was like, you guys can sit down. And we just sat in the exhibit with the red pandas for probably like 25 to 30 minutes. Wow. And I was like, Paul, I don't know you, but I love you so much. This is like the best thing ever in the entire world.
I don't know you, but I love you.
Yes. It was amazing to be able to finally meet my all-time favorite animal that I've seen, but I just have never been able to have that up close encounter. And I feel like that also, I get to see people have that encounter with animals that I work with, but it's nice to finally also be on that side of things where someone meets an animal that I work with that they like absolutely are in love with. So it makes it a little bit more special. Sometimes I have to like, when I see someone freak out, I'm like, don't cry, Jawnie, don't cry.
Yeah, that's really cool. And so what did you get to feed them?
It was just like apples and little pieces of fruit and stuff like that. At Columbus, I got to go with Christy and she let me meet those red pandas too. And they get those cute little red leaf eater biscuits.
Yeah.
That our porcupine here that I'm also obsessed with, our prehensile tail porcupine, he gets the same thing. So every time I feed those to him, I always think of my red panda experience.
Little red panda reminiscent.
Yeah.
Remind me, what's your prehensile tail porcupine's name?
Charlie.
Yes. Oh man, they are so adorable. I absolutely love those guys. We have one named Sana that I worked with for quite a few years. She's still at the zoo, but I don't work with her as much. And I mean, it's funny because we always obsess, or most people obsess over their nose, and rightfully so. It looks like a cute, adorable, floofy marshmallow thing.
Yeah.
But I've always been fascinated by their feet too. They because you can see the dexterous toes so well, both in the front and back feet, and how they can grip when they climb. It's just truly fascinating.
It's so crazy. Yeah, I love them. So I made this perch at work so that now when outreaches start back up, he can demonstrate how he climbs, and he's so cute because you can really see those little feet at work, because we always try to talk about them but people can't really see how he uses them.
The way they sit.
So he climbs on that now, and it's really cute. It's just a single perch that he'll climb off the table and like hang on it. A lot of times he'll just hang upside down with his little feet. It's really cute.
Well, I love your red panda story, and I completely get it, because even as someone who's worked with binturongs all these years, I go see some other facility. If there's a binturong, I just become a mess. So I totally get you. I love it.
Yeah.
But I do have to ask, behind you is a cheetah. Whose footprints and what cheetah is that?
Okay, I'm a horrible person. Like, I already can't even remember people's names. Oh, all of my light bulbs are out, so I had to use my ring light. I don't know if I can get it
That's all
without the
right.
ring light in it. But this is one of the cheetahs at Cincinnati. So I worked with Andy, which you also had on here.
Oh yeah.
Andy Haugen. So I worked with her at Fort Worth. And our dogs are BFFs, so we travel so they can see each other on their birthdays.
Very, very thoughtful of you.
Yes. But I don't know if it was the last time I was there. It was the time I finally met the red pandas. She brought it's one of the female cheetahs. She brought her out and painted with her for us. And so she gave me this picture that she happened to have and gave me that painting.
Nice.
And so I framed it and put it back here.
Beautiful memento. Beautiful.
Yes, yes. It was amazing.
Well, I can only imagine what your answer is going to be on this next question. This is sort of the wrap up question that I always like to ask, because it's a question I get all the time in what I do, whether I'm doing spokesperson work or conservation work or whatever, just having a conversation at a dinner table with some friends. And it's the standard, we talk about conservation, we give all the good copy points as to why these species are endangered or what the troubles are. And then you get that one person or multiple people that ask, well, I'm only one person, what can I do? Whether it's an 8-year-old child or an 80-year-old person, they want to help, but they feel helpless because maybe we're talking about cheetahs or talking about red pandas or whatever it may be, but they don't see them outside their window or in their area. Right. And they feel at a loss of how they can have an impact. So how would you answer that, Jawnie? How would you what would you say to someone who says, I'm only one person, what can I do?
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely like very intimidating that you are only one person in this giant world. And that these animals are like on the opposite side of the world. But like, you can just do small things to help wildlife out here around us. But whether it's like recycling, if you learn how to recycle, which like sometimes it's difficult if you've never done something like that before, like you have to kind of research into it, what can be recycled, what can't be recycled. But if you some people become compassionate about that or passionate. But if you get into it, like you're changing your habit already. And once you get into that, it encourages you to change other habits. Mm-hmm. And then other people around you, even if they think it's silly, like they're paying attention and they're like, oh, well, they do it. Like maybe I'll kind of start getting into it. And you never know who you might inspire. Like you might inspire a millionaire and they have all this money to actually do something but just there's a chain reaction. So I think no matter what you do, if you do it for yourself because you love a cheetah, just do a quick search, even research like what can I do to help cheetahs. And I'm sure there are plenty of examples of what you can do at home, or some people are able to go volunteer at rescue centers or something like that. But just know that you are going to start a chain reaction, because chances are someone started that turned all of this onto you. Whether it's you went to the zoo and we all turned you on to saving the cheetah, so now you can go on and reach everybody else.
Right. I love it. And that's exactly it. That's a really good point, because I think sometimes we as just one individual underestimate that chain reaction power, whether it's someone seeing what you're doing or you're just talking about why you're doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's great value in that. So I like that answer. Good job.
Yeah, thank you.
Nicely done. Well, I'm getting close to time because I got to get into my next afternoon meeting, but I do want to make sure aside from here on Instagram, obviously anybody watching this now, if you aren't following Jawnie, please go do it now. When I save this on Instagram TV, her handle will be in the description of this video. So you can easily tap there. If you're watching right now, you can also tap and go follow her and come right back. But is there anywhere else that you would like people to, or is there anywhere else for anybody to find you? Do you do any other social media or have a website or anything?
I do. I don't have like a website, but I'm also on Twitter and Facebook. And I guess it was this past winter I started my YouTube channel.
Awesome.
So I'm brand new to it, so it's getting a little bit better, and I hope that it gets even better as I continue. But anywhere and everywhere, it's just Zookeeper Jawnie. If you type that in, or even just put Jawnie in, not many people are gonna pop up, and you'll be able to find me.
Right.
But so Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Yeah. Perfect.
Perfect. I'm glad to hear that you're also tackling YouTube. It's kind of hard to get that one started, but once it gets going, I think Jungle Jordan, who's in here, it could testify to how much time and effort he's put into it to get some traction, but it's going for him.
Yeah.
So, that's great.
I talked to Jordan a lot before I started and when I first
good.
started.
Good.
Yeah, to get his opinion. And then also, like, part of, I think, the reason that he did it too, we have a passionate for animals, but we're also a giant minority in the field. So it's like nice to be able to be seen by people who maybe look like us and like, oh, maybe I can do that.
Yeah, no, and that is so very true. And, you know, I obviously have spoken to Jordan many times myself. We do our Thursday evening thing, and, you know, he said several times that even in his youth, he didn't even think that's a thing that someone like him could do. And so, you know, now being seen and being present really helps get that out there. And I think there's great value in that. So I'm really glad you're pushing the YouTube envelope as well and getting your folks out there.
Thank you.
It has been a pleasure, Jawnie. I thank you so much for taking the time to join me today and share your red panda story.
Same. Thank you so much.
You are very welcome. I'm going to go ahead and sign you off, and then I'll sign myself off. And probably about an hour or two, I'll get this posted to IGTV, and I'll tag you in my story so you can go ahead and share it too.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you. It was so nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you too. Let's stay in touch.
All right. Bye.
Bye. All right, that was a treat. A little secret too that I don't want to. It's not my story, so I don't want to get involved with mentioning it. But one of the first animals, along with the binturong, that I took care of at the San Diego Zoo, I also had 2 red pandas that I took care of. So red pandas and binturongs were neck and neck for many years in my life. But Bandar, my buddy that I just kind of had a great relationship there at the San Diego Zoo, he's the one that sealed the deal for binturongs to win over red pandas. But red pandas are incredibly adorable. Honestly, if you have not seen one or don't know what one looks like, you can Google search it. I recommend actually probably the Instagram hashtag red panda, or just go to Jawnie's account and see what she's posted there from her past experiences joining up. Everyone who's been following along and joining us, thank you. It's been fun. I enjoy having you all do this with me in these 1 o'clocks. Tomorrow is Thursday. I'm going to take Thursday 1 o'clock. I'm taking that off because Thursday at 7 o'clock, me and Jungle Jordan, who's been in here chatting up a little bit, we will be doing our 7 o'clock live, 7 p.m. Pacific time. So I leave Thursday's 1 o'clock out just because there's only so much time in one day. And then Friday, another special guest at 1 o'clock. So thank you all very much for joining. I hope you are all well. Things here are going to get kind of busy on my end next couple of weeks as we start to open the San Diego Zoo, which was just announced today. You can check out the details on that on the website if you're interested. And other than that, I hope you have a wonderful day. And yeah, I think I'll just leave it with have a good one, everybody.